these advanced training and certification, which will help you get much better jobs, much attractive jobs, higher salaries, etc., as you pass from the engineering college. I'm not saying that you would be in a position to get everything out there, but there's a little bit of things that you can do that will help you get towards a better career. So to begin with, let me talk to you about what is happening in this world of technology, of the world in the industry actually. So everything that we talk about, the organizations, everyone is talking about something called digital transformation. And for the next few slides, I'm going to talk to you about very basic fundamentals of digital transformation and how is it affecting businesses across the world, how is it affecting our life across the world. And that is what you need to understand before you position yourself in the industry. So a lot of people talk about digital transformation in the sense they also call it DX. It's a process. It's a group of technology or group of activities that organizations do to make them more profitable, to make them more to get new customers, etc. So let me first go to the very fundamentals in terms of what is digital transformation. Is somebody there who's done a little scratch on the screen here with some blue lines? I'm sorry if it is there, because I don't know. I have not done it, but it just happened. There was a few lines which came across on my screen. But anyway, so what I'm going to talk to you about is the three concepts that you see on your screen right now. There's the three processes. So starts with digitization, moves into digitalization, and then finally we talk about digital transformation. So let's get a little bit more fundamental in terms of understanding this. What do you mean by digitization is the process of making information available and accessible in a digital format. So somebody has raised their hand. I will take up the questions at the end of the session. So please hold on to your questions, and then we can, we have some time set up already for the question and answer sessions. So digitization is, like I said, it's a process of converting pen and paper information into a digital format. And I'm sure that you know that almost everything has been converted from an analog to a digital format. And most of the information that is available with us are in digital format, which is either a photograph, or it's a document, or it's a contract, or it's a or it's an application system. Anything which is there has been more or less converted to a digital format. There is nothing that you find today in the world which is also in a hard copy pen and paper format. While it might exist, but it is also converted into a digital format. Now, the second question that people ask is that, okay, now we have all the information in a digital format, how can we use it? So the next step came, which was called digitalization. And digitalization is the act of making processes more automated through the use of digital technologies. So basically, for example, the conversion of manual process of driver's license that has been made into a process where you can apply for it online. There is still some physical activities that you need to do, but more or less the application process has been converted to a little bit of automation. Similarly, for example, if you're applying for passport, a lot of things have been. So what you're doing is that you're using technology to convert digital assets into a process. And when you're doing a process, it becomes a little bit more automated. And finally, the next step of digitalization is something that we call as digital transformation. And in digital transformation, what you're doing is that you are devising new business applications and processes that integrate all processes as well as data for the benefit of people and organizations. So, of course, I'll come to some examples of digital transformation. But what really happens is that, for example, in our organization, I'll give you. So what happens is that, on a day-to-day basis, most of our intelligence that we are driving about customers, about who is purchasing our product, etc., is managed through an integrated CRM system, which is where it helps us to make some decisions. And that is what organizations are doing today, which is what we call about, what we talk about digital transformation. So in the whole history of technology implementation, we are currently actually in a stage where, yes, some bit of digitalization is still happening, but a lot of billions of dollars are being now invested into developing software, developing applications, developing systems that really transform an organization to a truly digital organization, and that is where we are in the phase of digital transformation. So if you look at technology and why the reason that organizations are investing so much in digital transformation, you have to go a little bit then and now situation. In the past, technology was, mostly a support function to business. I think Monty, somebody is, doing some annotations on the screens, and it is really disturbing my flow. So I would request anybody who is annotating on the screen to please stop it, because it's really disturbing. Anyway, so earlier technology served only as a function to the business, whereas now, after digital transformation processes, technology is used for enhancing efficiency and productivity. So that's a huge big difference that has happened. And why and what has that affected, and how has that affected the organizations, is that technology investment, that if I want to invest in any sort of technology, then it was a cost to a company, which is like more, okay, I'm making this expense, and therefore it is a cost to a company. Whereas now, investment and digital transformation processes are basically, it fuels new products and innovation and develop new products and services. It helps to get more and more customers, new customers, get new business. So therefore, the spend in the technology now has become an investment for the organizations. So that is the huge shift that has happened in how we use technology earlier. When we say we, which means that not only we as consumers of technology, but also organizations who are utilizing technology to fuel more and more innovations and developing new products and services. And that is the huge difference. So earlier technology was just support service. Now technology is more a profit-making venture that organizations have to invest in. Some of the examples of real digital transformation in play, and many of these that you are aware of already. One of the most beautiful case studies of digital transformation is where Apple, for example, moved from just producing hardware, mobile phones, to going into services, which is like Apple CarPlay. And what they have done is that through Apple CarPlay, they have partnered with car manufacturers. When they were developing CarPlay, they worked with all the major OEMs, the original car manufacturers like BMW or Mercedes or, so many other GM and so many others. They put together a team which actually came up with a solution where the whole infotainment system of the vehicle is integrated seamlessly with your phone system, and therefore be it information about your route, be it information about the traffic system, or information about what kind of music do you want to hear when you're driving. It has to a large extent been automated. And because of that, both organizations have benefited. There is a higher sale, in terms of the Apple products. And there is also car companies which have benefited because of the fact that because of this entire integrated system, they are providing better customer service to their buyers. Another example, a beautiful example of digital transformation is where General Electric, they're one of the world's largest producers or developers of digital windmills. And what they have done is, by using sensors, data network, data analytics, they have been able to create turbines that are customized for peak efficiency. So more energy produced per windmill, that's been hugely impacted by developing digital windmills. And the third is another very interesting use where we have used augmented printing or 3D printing, by Airbus, which is one of the world's largest developer of aircrafts, to manufacture plain parts that led to a decrease in total energy used by over 90%. So those are some of the examples where organizations have benefited out of implementing digital transformation, implementing and spending money on technology, and therefore, that has led to an outcome which is directly linked to how much of investment that you have made, and of course they have used the technology to grow their business. And that is what is the beauty of digital transformation. Another example is a digital oil field. When I started my career, I had the opportunity to work for 1 year in an oil field of the shore of Mumbai, and also in Assam. And when you go to a real oil field, you will see that there are, at least in my times, at least there were close to about 200, 300 people in one shift who were working in the various, points, sensor points, be it on the drilling floor or, controlling the drilling bit, etc. All of those have now been converted to, we call it digital oil field, where there is one control and command center, and then all the sensors are connected together. The data is getting connected. So what is happening is that oil companies then now are able to, become more efficient, cut down on people who are there, cut down on a lot of other benefits that has arisen because of technology, and the way data is being analyzed. So what are the technologies that are used today for, in digital transformation? Some of the emerging technologies that we talk about, I'm sure you've heard about artificial intelligence. Definitely that is making our products, our services much more smart. They're making them much more intelligent in terms of predictive data analytics. The network, and I'm sure that about 5G. In some time, 5G will come to us. In some of the countries, it has already been implemented. It has made data communication much more smarter. The other key aspect is Internet of Things, where a lot of those sensors are being connected, blockchain, serverless computing, because a lot of your computing now is happening on cloud, and therefore the dependence of on-premise servers have come down dramatically. Biometrics, robotics, natural language processing, augmented reality, computing. A lot of these are still in development, but things like artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, serverless computing, and cloud computing, those things are already become very, very evolved in terms of their implementation and their usage in digital transformation. However, when an organization goes through a journey of digital transformation, there are a lot of challenges, and the biggest challenge that we see is the challenge of cybersecurity. And because it has become the necessity of data flow and data communication, connecting various devices. So obviously what you're doing is that you're opening up a lot of different threat surfaces that we say, and therefore what happens is that the biggest challenge that we face today in the industry, in the whole process of digital transformation, is the challenge of cybersecurity. Of course, there are other challenges also, like, for example, how do you train people? And that is why we are here today, that what kind of skills that are required. Some of the old order leadership has still not accepted the concept of digital transformation, since most of the data is going through cloud. So therefore cloud security becomes an important part, and there are a few other things that I'll touch base upon as we go along. But biggest challenge that we see today in the industry is cybersecurity, and that is the reason over the past many years we've seen some very, very major cybersecurity breaches that are happening across the world. People say that every 39 seconds there is a cyber attack. Nearly 1% of the world's GDP is lost to cybercrime. And that is something which is astonishing, because if you remember the Yahoo breach that happened, they say that roughly 1/4 of the world's population was affected by, in fact, more than 1/4, about 32% of the world's population was, their information was compromised with the Yahoo hack. Similarly, you can name any organization and it has been, hacked, it has been breached by malpractices, people who are hackers for financial gain, for political gain, and so on and so forth. 25% of the crimes that will involve IoT devices, and we're talking about IoT. So by 2025, 1/4 of all the IoT devices is expected to be breached by malicious actors who are trying to steal your data. So there has been, and because of this opening up of data, because of the opening of the cloud, there has been a lot of hacking which is happening, which we cannot stop. So the only thing that we can do is basically to prepare ourselves and our workforce towards creating a better environment where, even if there are hackers, you are able to defend yourself. So right now, currently, there are around the 11 major economies, including India, there are about 2.8 million, which is 28 lakhs cybersecurity engineers, cybersecurity workforce who are working currently. However, as we speak, there is a requirement of nearly 70 lakhs cybersecurity expert. Within India and China itself, there is a requirement of about 26 lakhs trained employees who are ready to join the workforce. So that's something that we call a huge requirement. There is a gap in the industry, and that is the reason we tie up with institutions like yours to provide you with the best of the training so that you can be a part of this cybersecurity industry. So again, this is the Microsoft data that we got from the industries, that saying that one of the biggest thing that the organizations are doing is hiring additional security professionals. So the yellow bar is India, IN, and in India, the largest number of organizations are talking about hiring additional security professionals who are already trained, perhaps certified cybersecurity engineers who would like to, who the organizations would like to hire them. So what we are talking about is a career in cybersecurity. And when I usually talk to students and ask the question that what do you mean by cybersecurity, a lot of students equate cybersecurity with hacking. And unfortunately, that is not the truth. That is something which is people are not and that's the reason, because students are not aware of it, because hacking is a very interesting, very exciting thing that they look forward to, and that's the reason they always equate cybersecurity with hacking. But in reality, cybersecurity is actually opposite to that. It is all about stopping the hack from happening. So it's all about protection. So in a very simple terms, it focuses on protecting electronic assets, which includes internet, the wide area network, the local area network, which is used to store and transmit information. It actually tends to focus how malicious actors use these resources. It teaches you how to put yourself in the shoes of a malicious actor, a hacker, and then stopping them to basically get into your networks and steal information from you. So if somebody asks you that what is cybersecurity, it is not about hacking, but it's all about protection from hacking. So that is a huge difference that students or learners or people like students like you who are planning to join the industry as we go along, in the next 2 to 3 years, I think you need to understand that what you are supposed to do in the actual industry is not to hack, but to save your organizations from hacking. And that is the whole core of cybersecurity. Okay. We also, if you look at cybersecurity from a historical standpoint, the term cybersecurity, has become equal to IT security right now, because earlier in the early 2000s, late 1900 and early 2000, there were three aspects of assets that an organization had. It had data, which is information. It had its physical assets like the server room, and so on. So, and the office itself. So IT security had, and then cyber was a very small thing, because when you talk about cyber, you don't talk about cyber physical systems, which is where you connect objects, when you connect to the internet in a big way. I think that is the reason cybersecurity was a very small component of IT security in the early 2000s. But now, because the whole industry has moved into a level where everything is connected, cybersecurity has become a much, much more larger part. Yes, there is a bit of physical security. So as a cybersecurity engineer or an IT security engineer, you'll also learn about physical security. I showed you a slide with biometrics in there. So biometrics becomes a part of it. Your access card and how you access in certain portions of your workspace is something, again, that is physical security. How do you and then information security, which is more to do with your electronic information or data, has merged into cybersecurity. So therefore, IT security has now become equivalent to cybersecurity. And then we talk, and this is where we are again talking about defensive security become more important than attack, or offensive security. And we have got a concept called defense in depth, because your organizations where you will work, has got multiple layers. It's got the application and data layer, you've got the host layer, you've got the network, you've got the physical part of it, and then you've got the policies under which the organization work. So there are multiple layers through which you have to ensure that the security is implemented, and that is why we call the modern day cybersecurity is actually called defense in depth, because like I said, it is not about attacking, it's not about hacking, it is all about defending your system in depth. So there is a huge strategic movement within organizations that is happening, where you are talking about what all can be saved from malicious actors. Because you see, on one side, if you are a professional hacker, which is of course illegal, what really happens is that you will not stop. I mean, that is a part of what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. So they are relentlessly attacking the systems of organizations, and what the organizations, the only thing that they can do is have people who are skilled enough to stop those hacking from happening. And that is why we focus so much of defensive security. And that's the reason, there is a huge requirement of people. You open up any, you can search in Google the kind of demand of cybersecurity engineers that are happening today. Another interesting fact that I saw during pandemic, and that is some research that I did myself, by talking to a lot of people, talking to organizations like Naukri.com and Monster.com, talking to organizations like Accenture and Dell and so on and so forth. I figured out that the job openings in cybersecurity, whereas all the other job roles in the IT industry were very stable, job openings within cybersecurity grew by 6%. And that is something which is very astonishing. And that is where it clearly state that people, organizations, companies are hungry to hire people who are trained and certified on cybersecurity skills. Also, there is a lot of competition, because people don't see that, okay, how much of job searches, what is the trend of job searches that are happening, and job searches within cybersecurity increased by 30%. And that is, which means that more and more people of your age, of your generation, are actually looking out for cybersecurity jobs. And that is huge. Like, imagine out of 100 people, 30 people are looking for jobs in cybersecurity. The job openings grew by 6%. There are enough jobs. There are not enough trained and skilled people. And that is also affecting the level of salaries that you can draw. Typically, you take the range is very high, but if you are skilled enough and you get a job in IBM, for example, as a security engineer or a security analyst, you're talking about Accenture, Deloitte, etc. It is starting point is anywhere around 5.5 to 6 lakhs, and you can also go up to about 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs per annum. So which is a very, very good starting package. And this is only an average. We're not talking about if you are truly skilled, they might pay anything for you to be in there. And for that, you have got the time to prepare yourself. The other benefit is that, cybersecurity engineers are preferred in multiple industry segments. So be it a banking segment or be it a retail organization, you're talking about the companies like Amazon and Nike and Sony, which are retail companies. You're talking about service companies like Accenture, the big fours, Deloitte, Ernst and Young. Everybody, any segment that you talk about, you have requirement of cybersecurity engineers. Now, let us get into the job role part of it. So we've talked about the industry by and large. We talked about the requirement of cybersecurity engineers, and the demand for the cybersecurity engineers in the industry. Let us talk a little bit more about what we will actually do. Now, before I delve into that, you need to understand that the modern digital organization, we talked about digital transformation in the beginning, the modern digital, world or organizations has got 4 blocks, predominantly 4 kind of people who are going to work there. First and foremost are infrastructure people. They are the people who are maintaining and managing the whole IT infrastructure of an organization. That can be the devices, the physical assets, the workstations, the mobile phones that are connected to enterprise resources, your PC where you're working, your laptop, your servers, your cloud, all of that falls, your servers, all of that falls under the IT infrastructure. So one of the big questions that is there is that how much of workload are you balancing between the cloud system and on-premise system, where you put a server in your office. You will hardly find offices with servers anymore, because most of the transactions that are happening. Most of the work that is happening in the technology is happening on the cloud. Of course, there are servers. I'm not saying that servers are going away anywhere, but the investment in big time servers are slowly reducing. Second group of people are the development folks. I mean, those are the people who are developing software and applications. And I showed you something about, serverless computing, where basically, right now, if you write a piece of code, you have to provision that within the servers. Right now with the technology coming in with the serverless computing, you don't need to do that. You are developing a piece of code on the cloud itself. So the second group is the development side. Third is that data. People say that data now is the new lifeblood of an organization. Without data analytics, nothing can happen. The organizations cannot decide their strategy in terms of customer data, in terms of internal data, everything, and therefore data becomes a very important part. And then the final part is the security side, where as a security engineer, the whole team is responsible for securing the infrastructure, securing the applications and the software that developers are developing, and securing the data that is being created and communicated within and outside the organization. So basically, the fourth group of people are like custodians, like goalkeepers, who are constantly there at the back end in terms of supporting the security of all of these layers of activity that are happening in the industry. So what happens when you join the world of cybersecurity? You start as a security engineer, and I'll talk to a little bit more about the job role part of it. But specifically, you join as a security engineer or a security administrator. Then when you get some experience, like say maybe 2 years, 3 years of experience, you move into a second level kind of a job, which is either you become a defensive security professional, which is more in demand today, a security analyst. And there are some people who also choose penetration testing or VAPT as a scope there. And then finally, once you have another 2, 3, 5 years of experience, you move into a security architecture role where you are then responsible for creating solutions, security solutions for the organization. And that is sort of the highest level. And then, of course, after that, you become a part of the leadership team, which is, which becomes more managerial or more non-technical in nature. But if you look at the first 5 to 7 years or 10 years of your life as a technical resource, the growth path is very fast within cybersecurity compared to other vocations in the technology domain. So that's the broad career path that you would follow. And then some of the skills that are required for going towards that direction. You're talking about data security, network security. There has to be some amount of data analytics skill that you need, because when you are constantly monitoring the network of an organization, of your organization, you need to have that skill of bit of data analytics so that your mind is able to figure out anomaly in a data. And that is the biggest, if for example, if you're a doctor, you need to understand that, okay, this is the normal way in which people have to move, and here is an anomaly, and that can be a symptom of a disease, and that skill needs to be there. Understanding of threats, identity management. You will learn more about it as you go deep into this, into the courses. But identity management is something very simply that who should get access to what amount of resources and data within an organization. Application security. More and more devices are being connected, so endpoint security becomes very, very important. And then, of course, cryptography, regulatory landscape. Those are some of the skills. When I say regulatory landscape, it means that, because we are dealing with a lot of personal data, we're dealing with a lot of information which are sensitive, there are certain regulations that organizations put on themselves or the government put on the organization, and that is called regulatory landscape. So all of these, top 9 skills, 10 skills that are required for a modern day security workforce. And that is what we are going to teach you. If you look at some of the skills that are required to start a career in cybersecurity, so there are some core skills. Obviously, you need to understand all versions of operating system, be it a Windows or mobile operating systems or Linux. So you need to understand operating system in depth. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is you need to understand networking and cloud. That is, again, very, very important, because major breaches are always, I think 99% of the breaches involve the network connectivity, the LAN, WAN, and the cloud. And then, of course, modern day programming also requires a little bit of cutting edge software development tools such as Python, C++, etc. Not mandatory, but it is good to have. So operating system, network, and cloud are the core skills that you require. And of course, in terms of domain cybersecurity, and I'm going to cover what all are there. So you need to understand IT concepts, infrastructure, what is IT infrastructure, application software, bit of software development, like I said, database fundamentals. So all of this is something that you are already studying when you are going through your course within the university. Being a student of computer science engineering or IT, you are aware of these terminologies. But what you need to deep dive is, you need to have, I don't know whether your curriculum has that or not, but you need to deep dive on operating system, how to set up an operating system, how to install, troubleshoot, what are the features and tools of Microsoft, Windows, maybe Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, so on and so forth. So the entire gamut of operating systems, and then of course networking concepts. The whole, the whole domain of networking and cloud as a technology. And networking and cloud, of course, cannot be segregated too much. And they are merged together, but basically the understanding of how data flows and how information flows, right from the end point to the cloud and then back, how do you troubleshoot the networks, what are the kind of tools that you use. Network security, that is where your first step towards security happens, is how do you secure network. And then finally you come to cyber security, which is all about what you see on the screen, threat landscape. You need to understand that what all are the vulnerable point in our system, what part of the network, or what part of the communication is under threat. So that's basically threat landscape. You need to understand tools and technologies that are used to analyze data and security data. You need to understand a bit of how do you architect and design secured solution. Once you understand the threat landscape, you also need to have some amount of threat intelligence and management. That can I predict that this malware is going to hit us? Can I predict that this is what is going to happen to our organization? So that again involves a lot of data analytics and management of threat and learning from what has happened in the past. Vulnerability management, similar, very similar, that where is the vulnerability which is available in the system network. Risk management, that okay, a threat has happened, how do I mitigate that risk? Identity and access, I've already spoken, who can get access to what information, is that person or a set of people a safe. Cryptography, how do you encrypt your information when you're sending it from one location to the other location? How do you respond when an incident has happened? There you learn a lot of forensics. How do you because once the hack has happened, you cannot do anything about it. All you can do is how do you mitigate that effect of the of the uh, of the of the threat. And that is what we talk about all in incident response. And finally, all of this is only possible through a lot of modern day open source tool sets. So in our course, you're going to learn about all of those, how to use those tool sets as well. So like I said, 77% of Indian organizations are reporting a skill gap in cybersecurity. They require people who are getting into cybersecurity and doing these kind of jobs. Defending systems against unauthorized access, scanning for vulnerabilities, monitoring network traffic on a regular basis. It's a very interesting job. It's like a policeman's job. You're constantly on the guard. It's a very dynamic, very I would not say difficult work, but it's very engaging kind of an activity that you're doing. Configuring firewalls, antivirus, softwares, patch management. If a few years back, there was a huge cyber hack that happened in the national healthcare system of UK, and then it spread all across the world. It was called Petya. And why that happened? It was very simple, was that the administrators missed out on putting in a patch on the Windows, which was due, and it was an outdated system, and then they had to make that patch management and implement that patch, which did not happen. So small little things can lead into a huge spiraling effect in the world. So first, that's all you will learn as a network engineer, network security engineer. A slightly higher level when you become a more of an analyst kind of a thing, where you focus more on defense. There's a concept called Security Operations Center, where organizations are spending a lot of money in setting up that whole monitoring system, which they call a Security Operations Center. And what you will do as an analyst is become a part of the Security Operations Center team, which will constantly monitor, predict, analyze threats that are coming and how to mitigate them. So those are the kind of job roles that you're going to do. It's very dynamic. And I also wanted to share that, which I started from the very beginning of the presentation, that you're already doing a 4-year degree course. Why do you need to do an extra program? And the reason behind that is A, that there is a huge amount of demand from the industry, and B is the fact that organizations will not train you anymore when they hire you. They will want to select people, and that is what they call a zero-day deployment, is that they want people who are already trained and certified. And that is the reason we are working along with the Technical Hub to give you those skills that you already have before you're joining a workforce. And last but not the least, I would like to spend a few minutes on our organization and what are we doing along with your university, your college, and the technical hub. So we are one of the largest developer of vendor technology neutral certification provider. So we have developed certification exams which are accepted by the industry as standardized skills in a particular job role. So if you're looking at cybersecurity job role, the industry knows that there is a program called CompTIA Security Plus, and anybody who is coming with a CompTIA Security Plus certification and who has gone through the training and has passed the exam are standard people whom we can close our eyes and hire, because because when we develop this security plus certification, we ask the same organizations, the Accentures and the IBMs and the Dells, that okay, when you are looking at a fresh hire, what kind of skills that you want from them? If you're looking at somebody who's a security engineer and they tell us that okay, these are the 10 skills that are required, and those 10 skills get translated into the certification that we will develop. So when you go with that certification to those same organization, there is a huge possibility that they will be hired. And why our certifications are different? Because the way we ask the questions in the certifications, they are not direct definition based questions, but they are all indirect questions where we force you to think as a network engineer or as a network analyst and try to answer questions in a simulated environment, which is an example of a CompTIA simulated system where you go and take the exam. There are certain questions where you have to do something. Therefore, your training and the learning has to be effective. And that's the reason we are skilling up people within your universities, your faculty members, your teachers with the certification so that they can actually train you in turn as to how do you crack this certification. So therefore, some of the certifications that you might consider when you're looking at a cybersecurity career, you've got Network Plus, which is concept of networking. You have Security Plus. I told you that we require a bit of Linux skills out there. And then you've got, higher level certification called CompTIA CYSA Plus and CompTIA Pentest Plus. But predominantly at this point in time, I think you should focus on Network Plus and Security Plus, which are the two certifications that will help you get that first job in these organizations. You talk about, and I spoke to you about that. There are banking and financial services companies here, the Wells Fargo's, the Deutsche Bank, and the RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, NatWest, ICICI, HDFC, HSBC, so on and so forth. So that's one segment. And then you've got Accentures and Capgeminis and TCS, etc. You've got the product companies like HP, Dell, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So that's where I'll stop. I think I'm about 5 minutes ahead of my time, but the whole idea was to give you a little bit of clarity in terms of why you require cybersecurity skills, what kind of job role are you going to do in this domain, and then of course what kind of skills that you require and what kind of organization that will look at you for hiring. So I'll stop here. My credentials are here. You can reach out to me. You can connect to me on LinkedIn. You can go to our website. There are a lot of free resources which are available. And of course, at this point in time, we are, the trainers of GEETA Technical Hub are going through the training. And when they launch the program, they will be, be able to, and they will be able to provide the best class of training which is authorized and certified by from our side. So I'll stop here for a second, and I'll be open to taking questions at this point in time if anybody has.
Thank you, Pradipta sir, for giving a meaningful time to us. So I think it will clear the students what is cybersecurity job roles. If any student is having any doubt, they can ask in the chat room. Anything about cybersecurity they want to know.
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing the chat right now. I think a lot of people have requested me to speak in Hindi. I'm sorry, अगर मैं पहले देख लिया होता तो शायद मैं mixed language में बोलता, लेकिन unfortunately I just saw the chat, and when you're talking to a national university, you feel that there will be people who are from different parts of the country, so that's the reason I do. Okay, so okay, so somebody has asked a question about Kali Linux, and yes, I think very, very pertinent question. And Kali Linux is predominantly used in all modern day penetration testing tools, and therefore, post the, it's always a pathway. I'm not saying that you learn Kali Linux right now, but when the time comes, when you are actually taking up a job role as a cybersecurity engineer, at some point in time you become a penetration tester, and that is where you kind of require those understanding of Kali Linux tools, which is very required. So therefore, not in our security plus certification, but in our pen test plus certification, we cover a large part of Kali Linux there, and basically teach you to see how. Okay, so we teach you how to utilize tools which are which are required for you to know Kali Linux. In fact, all the modern penetration tests, and that is the reason also our penetration testing certifications stand apart, because of the coverage of Kali Linux. Not many so-called ethical hacking certification cover on this. Somebody has also asked about Log4j. I think this is a vulnerability that has been identified by the US government, and people are in the process of fixing it right now. I am not a technical resource who actually does it, so therefore I will not be able to comment on that. But yes, it is the new vulnerability that has been identified, and people are working towards it. What is the main criteria to start cybersecurity career? Can we start with Linux and then networking? I think networking comes first and then comes Linux. Because see, what happens is that you got to take a call, because see, when you are joining the, so I am assuming that यार आप लोग सब अभी स्टूडेंट्स हो, आप लोग अभी फर्स्ट जॉब के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, तो आपको एक चीज देखना पड़ेगा कि आपको किस तरह का जॉब मिलेगा, बिकॉज जब आप जॉब वर्ल्ड में भी जाओगे तो वहां पे अलग अलग लेवल्स होते हैं, लाइक लेवल 1, लेवल 2, लेवल 3. नाउ the level 1 in cybersecurity is cybersecurity engineer or a network security engineer, right? और लेवल 2 जो होता है वहां पे आप पेनिट्रेशन टेस्टिंग करते हैं या लिनक्स टूल्स वगैरह यूज करते हैं, तो आप जा सकते हैं लेवल 2 में. बट मेरे एक्सपीरियंस से 9 आउट ऑफ द 10 जॉब्स जो निकलेंगे वो एंट्री लेवल के होंगे, और एंट्री आपके पास स्किल्स अगर होगा भी तो शायद वो आपको उस लेवल पे नहीं लेंगे. उसका रीजन इज दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस वर्क ऑन अ हायरार्किकल स्ट्रक्चर. सो देयरफॉर आई वुड से नेटवर्क एंड कोर सिक्योरिटी इज फर्स्ट. सो अगर आप हमारा पाथवे देखेंगे तो आपको नेटवर्किंग पहले समझना चाहिए, फिर सिक्योरिटी आपने समझा, उसके बाद लिनक्स समझे, बिकॉज लिनक्स का जो काम है वो तभी आता है जब आप लेवल 2 में जाते हैं, जब आप वल्नरेबिलिटी मैनेजमेंट करते हैं, या जब आप पेनिट्रेशन टेस्टिंग करते हैं. तो इट डिपेंड्स, आप उस तरह भी जा सकते हैं, आप अभी से वो स्किल बिल्ड कर सकते हैं. बट उसमें एक फियर ये है कि शायद आपने स्किल तो डेवलप कर लिया, लेकिन शायद आपको उस तरह का कमेंसुरेट जॉब नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि एंट्री लेवल के जॉब्स जो होते हैं वो सिक्योरिटी इंजीनियर और एनालिस्ट के होते हैं. Excellent. So I think that is all. If somebody else has got questions, can also reach out. But I hope that we were able to answer your questions.
Is there anyone who is having any doubt regarding cybersecurity? I think it's enough for today, sir. Students are completely
Sure.
satisfied with this. So again,
Perfect.
thank you, Pradipta sir, for giving your time to us, to our students, to teach them
Sure.
about
Thank you,
cybersecurity.
Monty.
And
Thank you, Pankaj
we'll-
sir, for all your support. Please let me know if you require anything, and I'm ready to help you, support you, your
sure,
students,
sure.
so that they get prepared for the future.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
thank you.
all. Enjoy your day and stay safe.